I am Dr. Matthias Nordvig, expert on pre-Christian Scandinavian mythology and religion at the University of Colorado Boulder, and this is the Nordic Mythology channel. I am sitting in a Viking tent at Midgardsblot and Bora in Norway, and I have here with me Kai Faust from Heilung. Kai, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
And welcome to the channel.
Yeah, I like it already.
Yes. So, I am very excited to hear about your inspiration for creating Heilung as a music setup. So, would you care to tell us about that?
The inspiration, where it comes from, or where we taking it from? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, in Heilung we work with a lot of different elements. Like the main element is, of course, the old writings. So we take stuff from the old Icelandic writings, the Edda and related collections, and but also like one of the most known songs of us, Krigskalder. It actually contains a very old Norwegian dialect, which is from the Eggja stone. And that is even older. That is older than the Viking Age. That is something like around the migration period when that stone was chiseled. And that is what we do very often. You know, where we go back to the old sources. We take things from rune stones, but also from old amulets or wherever we find runes engraved. And when they contain a spell that we can use, then we take it from there. But we also use a lot of poetry which comes out of my pen mostly, and that is then in German or in English, right? But I think you're referring to the old languages.
Yes. Well, I mean, I would also love to hear about what type of poetry you make. So you're inspired by both the Germanic Iron Age and also the Viking Age, and what kind of themes are you working with in that context?
Okay, I can pick a couple of songs. So, for example, on the first album Ofnir, there is one track which is called Schlammschlacht, and that is a poem that I was writing I don't know, like 15-20 years ago. Like, it's a very old poem for me, and that deals with the so-called Varus battle in the Teutoburg Forest 9 after Christ in Germany, and that is like one of the central points in European history, I would say, because what is happening there is Arminius is the name of the guy, and he manages to unite all the Germanic tribes who were quarreling among each other and were not really able to set up a proper army against the Romans, and he was the first managing to get them all together and actually put an end to the Roman expansion north. And that is what the poem deals with, of course, in very colorful pictures painted with words, and a lot of atmosphere, all that. And then on the new album there is a song that we call Eli Vagar. That is, it contains two languages, also Old Icelandic, where we recite the names of the icy rivers that flow into Ginnungagap and meet the fire there. But there's also a long part again in German, and that deals with ice and vaporizing and melting, and like glaciers, how they are able, although they're a very fluent medium, but they still grind down mountains and move the landscape. And at the same time it is an analogy to the minds in people, and because everyone has experienced that thing when you come home and you're, "Hello darling," and she's like, "Hello," and you're like, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." And it has, it has these icicles on the speech bubble, So it deals with that as well, the analogy in between mentality and nature.
That's really interesting. That's very exciting. So, the next question I would like to ask you is then, what does it mean to you to make this kind of music? I know that you work with the idea of deep history, and what is there sort of a purpose behind creating Heilung and bringing it out to the public, to the audience?
Is there a purpose behind this? It's hard to say. Like, of course, a lot of people interpret a lot of stuff in our work, but we started out like out of pure joy and pleasure. In the beginning, I just wanted to record a couple of poems, and then there were more and more musical elements coming in it. And what we did right in the beginning was only or like only, yeah, we were following the flow and making the music that we always wanted to hear, but that didn't exist, right?
Yes.
And then of course it kicked off, and but it's basically still what we're doing. Of course we agree on a certain line, you know, how we present that to the outer world and everything, and that is also really important, you know, to remind people that we all descend from one source, you know, and that we're all brothers and all of that, and that our mythologies are interlinked in the deepest roots and all that kind of stuff. But it started out really purely playing, but like, you know, playing in the sense in Danish, for example, if you play football or anything else, if you play music, that's a completely different thing than when children are playing. That's two different words, right? And we always say we play music, but in the way that children are playing, really, really open and really free, and yeah, just
So
keep it going.
Yeah. So it's a play. It's a creative process where you're playing with the past.
In a way. Of course, after the Second World War, the innocence of all of that is gone, right? So we have to be very careful and be very aware to really keep the spotlight on the old times and not get lost in all the layers that are on top of it, right? So it is playing, but also a bit playing with the fire.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So okay. But so. How, in that sense, how do you try to steer away from all of those layers?
We're not steering away from anything. We are steering towards.
Okay.
Towards having that people have the chance through the sounds and through the music to actually connect to a time before all of this. You know, before technology, before Facebook, before all the stuff that keeps us busy all the time. And like what we try to do, I mean, like Chris, Maria and me were coming from an environment like this, you know, like where we spend several months outside, really close to nature, you know, cook on the open fire and everything, you know. And we really try to connect people to a moment where all the stuff that keeps us busy and gives us trouble in the modern times, where all that can be gone, you know, where they can have a rest, you know, where they can have like a musical break and travel back in time.
Yes, that's really inspiring. So in that sense, you're what you're also doing is sort of telling people that to get out from all of this technology and the modern world, in a sense.
Yeah, give it a break, because I mean, like if you continuously use your phone, for example, it will die at one point. You need to give it a break and put it to the charger. And I think people work like that as well. You know, we can do things and we can be in the modern world and work, you know, and be busy and take care for this and that, but we need a point where we are actually resting. Where everything is on hold, you know, where we take breath, you know, or get exhausted, dance or whatever, like blow off some steam. But
yes,
Heilung suits both. You know, you can either have your headphones on and lay on your sofa and be really stoked, did I read that? Or you just can go out there and have a couple of drinks and just throw it all off and dance.
And then by using sort of the Germanic past and the Nordic past, then you create a soundscape for doing that simply.
Yes, and it's also like we don't really give translations with our lyrics, because sometimes it's very difficult. I was mentioning before the Aegiaston. That language is not really there anymore. So like every translation is an educated guess, right? And it is also not about to teach people what it means. It's much more, you know, to make it alive again, to make it possible for the people to feel it, you know. So they don't have to follow word by word what is going on. It's just suddenly you hear that 1,500-year-old language, you know, that hasn't been heard for a long time, right? And it's also, we're also aware of that everything is alive and that there's a kind of intelligence or a spirit woven through everything, you know. And whenever we go out live, we are also aware that the part of the audience is invisible.
Yeah.
Especially on a place like this where there's so many people being buried. We know exactly that a part of those who come to see us are from the other world, right? And that is also really to connect all this. And we get very good feedback. There's a lot of people who have like close to epiphanic experiences when they're with us. And we also use, in order to reach that, we also use rhythms that are known to alter the state of mind. You know.
So that's part of it. So the musical experience is part of also altering your state of mind and,
Sure.
bringing you in another space.
Yeah, that's the core of it. Like we try to use elements that are at least 1,000 years old, right? So the moment Christianity kicks in, that is basically also the moment where the use of our elements starts. So you will see on our stage the majority of the elements, no matter if they're acoustically or if they're visibly, they're Viking Age down.
Yeah.
So and that counts, as I said, for the sounds as well. Like the sounds in Heilung are used is all sounds that our pre-Christian forefathers were hearing. You know, the clicking of bones, the cracking of the fire, the wind, the volcanoes, and all that kind of stuff. So like, and every sound is genuinely created by us. We don't work with synthesizers and we don't buy any sounds from somewhere or whatever. But the same thing also counts for the dresses. You know, like my dress, for example. The headdress is inspired by a headdress from a German finding from the Stone Age. And it contains also a piece of a sword, an original piece from the Bronze Age. So we bring all this, like, you know, elements that our forefathers have seen, and like everything that our forefathers experienced and went through, it is still in our blood or in our genes. You know, so we speak to a deeper layer of all of that, because like parts of us, they have been around when that stuff was actively in use. You know, when that language was actively in use. And that's what it's about for us, you know, to really.
So that sort of also rekindles something in us as modern humans.
Rekindle is a word that I don't really know. Sorry, I'm not English, but it's not my first language. What is rekindle? Is that like reenacting or?
No, spark the fire. You know?
Yeah, okay, to reignite something
Yeah.
that is slumbering within us. Yes, I would absolutely say so, because like the moment we strip, right, and we go out in the nature to a place where there's no reception, for example, right, and we try to do all this very simple without big helping stuff. You know, there will be a point where we are sitting in front of the campfire, or we are on top of a mountain, and then we have that weird feeling, you know, that something is going on that we don't really understand, you know, and that is very subtle, you know, and that is very, very fast washed away with just an electrical sound, for example, right? That is where we want to go. Of course, the sounds are electrical in a way, you know, when you listen to it, but it's really to get that feeling somehow to the people, right?
Yes. And would you say then that you know, to be an audience for the Heilung's music, is there a space that is sort of better to experience it, or can it be experienced anywhere? What I'm fishing for, perhaps, like, is it better to experience this type of music out in the woods, in the mountains, in nature, or what do you think of that?
Well, it's a matter of taste of the individual, right? I mean, some people really enjoy to go to our concerts and like really blow it all off and dance and whatever. Others would rather lay in their cave, you know, listening to it with headphones. Others like to hear it while they do workout. We hear that a lot. That the more energetic songs are loved for, sports and everything, martial arts and all that kind of stuff. I think it's really up to the individual where they feel most, you know, comfortable or most contacted when they listen to that type of music. I'm a tattoo artist, for example, and of course I'm making Heilung, so I don't really listen to that. But before Heilung was really being so dominant in my life, like I had, because like I work traditionally, meaning without machines, so it's a lot. It's very meditative what I'm doing, and that keeps me busy for 7, 8, 10 hours a day. And of course, you know, when you sit there and you're quiet and you do something very complicated, you automatically get in the zone, right? And that was where I was listening to music that connected me deeper to whatever. And of course, course, I have to mention Vadruna now
Yeah.
at that point and all that kind of stuff, you know. And that is also like creative people when they work. They probably also like to listen to that while they do their art.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have myself on multiple occasions been tattooed while both Vadruna and Heilung have been playing. So
At the same time?
Not at the same time. Well, Kai, thank you very much for joining me
You're
here on the
absolutely
channel. And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And you can also find the Nordic Mythology channel on Instagram and Facebook.